Hello, fellow Movie Crusaders, and welcome to another episode of the Movie Crusaders. My name is Sean Wasserkrug, and with me, as always, Brian Michaels. I don't have Brian Williams in my head for some reason. It's late. We're still going on strong, but we wanted to get this one put in the can before we called it a night on New Year's Eve, going into New Year's Day, and that's basically what we're talking about. It is now a new year, thus, hopefully, movies come out again, and that's basically what this episode is. It is the most anticipated films that are scheduled to come out in 2021. We have a nice big hefty list here from both of us, a lot of the movies that we are excited to see, and then there are some that Brian has on his list that I have not heard of, and vice versa. But yeah, that's kind of it's a weird year. We have so many movies that are scheduled to come out this year because 2022 was kind of like a 2020 was kind of like a gap year for a lot of films. Like they decided to take a year off and really go to college in 2021. But yeah,
I mean, ordinarily when we do these kind of things, you'd probably do like a top 10 anticipated, top 20 most anticipated. But we figure, what? Last year there was nothing. This year there's a bunch. We're just going to go through the year and talk about because there's so much stuff in theory coming out. Now, granted, there are, if you look at different sites even, there are different dates. Some places we're not even sure what date things coming out anymore. So some things might have conflicts of information, but as of now, based on the information we found, these are the current ones they're coming out.
Yeah, and there are certain movies that we know there is no chance that they're coming out in 2021. So even though they might have a placeholder for 2021, we're like, yeah, there's no chance in hell that's coming out this year. So we kicked it off the list. But basically how we're going to do it this way is we're just going to go month by month and just talk about what movies that are coming out that month that we are at least have some kind of a piqued interest on, and just kind of go through it. And like I said, hopefully in a perfect world, all these movies come out, or at least 80% of these movies come out. And who knows, maybe these movies will be on our best of or worst of going into next year.
This is not by no means comprehensive. There's movies coming out in all these months that we're not even going to mention. So like spoiler alert, January, we're going to talk about 0 movies. Because yes, there are a couple coming out, and there's even stuff I'm kind of interested in seeing, but we're going to try and stick to our most anticipated to keep it a reasonable length.
And we obviously know, just like every year, there are movies that we are probably going to become very, very excited to see that we just don't know about yet. That a trailer has not popped up. We might have seen the title and just not know anything about us. We just skipped over it, and then it becomes one of our favorites of the year. Bad Times at the El Royale was a big one.
That's the thing about the most anticipated is for the most part, these lists tend to be comprised of a lot of known properties or sequels or reboots or things like that, or maybe something from a certain director you're anticipating, or you see a great cast list. But yeah, there are going to be a lot of things that pop up that we just aren't on our radar now, that I'm sure will be on our list at the end of the year. But this is just as of now, from what we know, the information we have, this is it.
Exactly. So like Brian killed my joke. I was gonna say, and going into January, nothing, because there was nothing in January that really piqued our interest. We know that January is usually mostly like, here's the Oscar films from 2020 that are finally getting released, which it's gonna be a weird year. Yeah, it's a weird year now. I don't know how they're gonna do that. And then 2020 also tends to be like, here's the dumpage month for the movies that they just are trying to get rid of.
Or in the case of 2020, the top grossing movie of the year.
Yes, Men in Black, Bad Boys for Life, and also one of Brian's most surprised, Underwater. So who knows what's going to happen anymore? It used to be like there was no good movies till March or April. Now it's like February is a big month now, and January's starting to kind of, now it won the title for best box office of 2020 on a.
So for this year, January, there's a couple movies that if they actually show up, I'll go see, but nothing most anticipated.
Well, go see if we're allowed to. But so we're just going to go ahead and jump to February. And even then, there's only one movie. I know there's going to be more movies that come out. We just either don't know them yet, or they're not any titles that are sticking out to us. But there is one that's sticking out. And for me, it was a trailer that popped up about a couple weeks back. I had heard about it, and I was like, there's no way this is going to work. And then I saw the trailer, and I'm sold. And that is Nobody. Is basically, the best way I can explain it, it's Bob Odenkirk from Better Call Saul, who huge fan of. And it's basically Bob Odenkirk, John Wick. I'm sure that he's not an assassin, but watching that trailer, he clearly has a past and a particular set of skills. And it's Bob Odenkirk kicking ass, and I'm all for it. And so I'm actually really excited to see this. It's probably not going to be that good, but the premise of the trailer alone has me anticipated to see it. That's really the only thing in February, really.
Yeah, I mean, this one definitely made my most anticipated list, and as of February, it's the one that stuck out for me. But again, I had never even heard anything about this movie, nothing at all, until I saw that trailer. And while the trailer I thought was entertaining and stuff like that, it just the people behind it, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it produced something by one of the guys behind John Wick?
It is.
Yeah, and so again, we know they know how to do great action, and the trailer looks very entertaining. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, the choreography for the fight scenes have to look good, at least especially to make Bob Odenkirk believable as a badass. Because you don't look at Bob Odenkirk and going, that guy can fight. So
Yeah.
so I'm excited to see what happens. So let's go ahead and roll into March. We got 3 movies in March. Brian, go ahead with yours, because this one's on your list, not on mine. Not because I don't want to.
The first one I listed for March, and these are not in any kind of ranked order. This is just we looked by month. The first one that I got down was Coming to America 2. This is a movie, now Coming to America is a movie that I've always enjoyed, but it was never like, I was never thought it was like one of the best comedies of all time or anything like that. But I'm really looking forward to this one, and maybe once again I'm putting too much on somebody, but I'm hoping that Eddie Murphy can return to form, because for the longest time we've been waiting for him to make his comeback to comedies. There's a couple.
He did with Dolomite. He was fantastic in Dolomite.
He did with Dolomite, and this is the same director who did Dolomite, who is also the director of other things like Hustle and Flow and some other movies that I really enjoy. So we haven't seen a trailer or anything quite for it yet, but it looks like it could be entertaining. So fingers crossed.
Didn't they just release a trailer?
I released some images from it. I don't think I've seen a trailer.
Oh, I thought they released a trailer for it. If they have, neither one of us have seen it yet. But we're backing the name of it and knowing that it's Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall coming back, and I think James Earl Jones is back in it as well.
Yeah, and then the one who played the lady who played the woman he married, she's obviously
in. So
there's a lot of cast coming back. And of course this one's going to Amazon Prime in March.
So not necessarily a theatrical release, but still, we're not holding it to just theatrical release because we don't know what's going to get released in theaters this year. The next one is, this was on my list, I believe, last year, and it got bumped.
There's going to be a lot of that, folks. Prepare yourselves.
What'd you say?
There's going to be a lot of that.
Yeah.
Prepare yourselves, folks.
Yeah, it was on my list last year. It did not make my list this year because I just had to make some cuts somewhere. So this one's on Brian's again. So go ahead and take it away.
That is The King's Man. The Kingsman movies are these movies that kind of came out of nowhere. Nobody knew much about it. I mean, it's based on a comic book property, but most of us, let's be honest, hadn't heard of it. But they're just very entertaining movies. The second one, I don't think quite lived up to the first one, but it's still, it had some fun action and fun characters. I liked it. But then they're taking a whole different approach with it. Instead of just going to another sequel, this is like a prequel back to kind of how that whole Kingsman thing began. It's going back to, it's more of a period piece. It's got Ray Fiennes is in it. Peter Stormare, I think, is in it. I don't even remember the whole cast, but just the trailer I saw, it really intrigued me, and I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I love the first Kingsman. The second Kingsman, I think, is still really solid. I can't hear "Take Me Home" from John Denver anymore without getting a little bit sad because of the sequel. But yeah, I mean, it's like I say, we're going the prequel route. They're going to eventually make a third of the trilogy for the Kingsman. Oh, yeah. The trailer looks solid, but not having those characters that you are used to and having to go with a whole new crew. That's the kind of one thing that kind of makes me a little hesitant that it might be great, but with the cast that is involved in it, I think it'll probably be a solid one. And the third film in March, once again, was on my list last year. I bumped it this year. I still really want to see this movie. What's the third one, Brian?
Third one is Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon. Now, this is one they're going to do their release strategy like they did with the live-action Mulan, where it's going to be in theaters and it's also going to be available day and date on the premiere Disney Plus access, which basically have to buy it, and be a Disney subscriber. But if you wait a couple months, it'll just be on the regular streaming and stuff too.
Which, because it's my channel or our channel, either I'll go to a theater or I'll pay the fucking money and I'll watch it and I'll review it for you guys. Just like I
will always, assuming my theater's open, I will always prefer to watch movies in theaters. I mean, I streaming movies, I think they put great stuff out on streaming, but I always prefer to watch in the theater if possible. Raya Last Dragon, I'm going to admit, I know almost nothing about. But what I have seen of it is just, first of all, being a Disney animation, and second of all, from what I have seen of footage of it, it just looks beautiful, and so I'm really intrigued by it.
That's the one thing that really sold me before the trailer even came out. Which the trailer, I'm still kind of not sure what the movie is that we're getting, but the first stills that we saw this thing, it looks gorgeous. And like I said, there's just the element of what the story could be, plus having a dragon in it. Definitely is a boost. The trailer, I remember seeing the trailer. I was like, I'm not 100% into the story, but you know what? How many of those animated films are we like, the story doesn't look that good? Then you finally get into the movie and it's fantastic. The animation looks gorgeous. I'm actually excited to see it. It just didn't make my anticipated list this year, but it definitely was in my list last year. But that is scheduled for March. And either way, we will definitely have a review for you guys when it comes out. April, we get a little bit more movies now. This first one, right before we went on air, I had to ask Brian, I go, what is this movie you put down? Because I have never heard of it. So go ahead, Brian, again.
April, it's a movie called The Asset, which I know almost nothing about. I didn't even hear of this film until I was looking for films for my list. The Asset is a film. It's directed by Martin Campbell, who you might know as directing a couple of the James Bond films. He directed Legend of Zorro, some other things. Green Lantern we won't talk about. But I mean, this one stars Michael Keaton, Samuel L. Jackson, and Maggie Q. This is one of those films that really, I'm going purely based on the director and stars. It's made my most anticipated list because I'm curious to see what they can do with this group of people.
Like I said, just that cast alone, I want to see it because I'll see anything with Michael Keaton, and Samuel Jackson's in everything, so it's fine. But yeah, anything Michael Keaton now, like I didn't used to always watch his stuff, but now I'm like, he's one of my go-tos for everything. The next one, this was in my, I think, top 3 last year, and it is still in my top 3 this year. And that is Last Night in Soho. Edgar Wright. I mean, what's there to say about Edgar Wright? Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, At World's End, which I'm not that big of a fan of, but I probably should watch it again and probably give it a little more appreciation. Baby Driver. Didn't appreciate it the first time I saw it. Loved it more the second time I saw it. Now we got Last Night in Soho. I read the premise of it, and I also feel like by reading the premise, I know too much now. But the cast is once again heavy. Is it Thomasin McKenzie?
Thomas McKenzie.
Okay. Jojo Rabbit. I mean, phenomenal in that. So just hearing her, and I'm blanking on the rest of the cast, but I remember reading the cast going,
Anya Taylor-Joy, Matt Smith, Terrence Stamp, Diana Rigg. Those kind of the main stars. But just the 2 girls alone.
But just hearing like the premise of what this movie is supposed to be, not the plot, but like what Edgar Wright's trying to make for this film, has me greatly intrigued because it definitely feels like a movie we have not seen from him yet.
Yeah.
I feel like kind of like almost like a Bad Times at El Royale-ish kind of vibe from this. And that was one of my favorite films when it came out. Was it last year? 2 years ago?
Oh, it's been a couple of years, yeah.
Yeah.
This is one of those films, like you said, we haven't seen anything from him like this. I guarantee it'll still have some element of comedy in it. I don't know how much, though. That's just it. I don't even know what the tone of this film is going to be.
Yeah, I'm super intrigued.
But it's like top 3 or 4 for me.
Oh yeah, like it was in my top 3, 2 years now running.
Yep.
Comes out in April. The next one, also both on both Brian's and I's list. I hope this is as good as I hope it's going to be, and that is Mortal Kombat. The first Mortal Kombat, yes, it's not good by today's standards, but at the time was great. It was perfect 1995 like isms for what it was. Could it have been better? Absolutely. But it was perfect like 90s-esque. Now we've got I think a great director at the helm of this. The cast so far that I've seen for the fighters, I'm liking every decision that they're picking for the cast. And they already have said this is going to be a hard R. There will be fatalities in this movie, which right there, yeah, me sold. And if you can bring back the iconic Mortal Kombat theme song, I'm so locked in. Well, you don't like it?
I'm gonna break with you on that because Mortal Kombat, the first movie, it's dumb fun. I like that. I don't think it's a good movie by almost any standards, but it's one of those things, mindless fun. Okay, great.
Johnny Cage hits Goro in the balls, and it is great.
And the second movie we won't even mention.
No, the second movie's horrible.
I think actually there was some shorts they did, some Mortal Kombat that online.
Yeah, there was a fan film one. There was like a six episode fan film.
Yeah, it was essentially a fan film, but starring I think Michael Jai White, I think, was in that.
Yeah, he was Jax. I think.
And those were very well done. I think that kind of showed that, hey, we could make something good out of it. And so this, I'm hoping this is the Mortal Kombat movie we've been waiting for. Like I said, it's a hard R. Hopefully it'll have some real production values. Now, this absolutely could end up on our most disappointing list of the year. It has so much potential too, but we're just hoping they get it right this time.
Yeah, this one is one of those that's either going to be really good or it's going to end up on the disappointed list next year. But I'm super stoked for this movie. If it's just, to me, I feel like if it is just 50% of what I'm banking on it in my brain, I will be satisfied with it. Going to the next one, should have came out in 2020. It didn't. Just like Last Night of Soho, or just like most of the movies we've already said so far. It is the final film for Daniel Craig as James Bond, and that is No Time to Die. The initial trailer that they came out with a few months back, it looks really good. I feel like they gave way too much in the trailer personally, but I am sold on seeing Rami Malek as a villain. I just hope it's better than Spectre. Spectre was a great disappointment, and Spectre should not have failed with the cast that it had. But I still love Daniel Craig's Bond. If it's anything remotely close to Royale or Skyfall, then I feel like it's going to have a proper send-off to Daniel Craig.
Yeah, this one for me is on my most anticipated list, but it's actually pretty low on the list, just because I'm kind of ready to move on from Daniel Craig. And Rami Malek, I don't like as an actor. It has some negatives, but I mean, I think the action's going to be good. I think it'll be, a fun movie to watch. I am looking forward to seeing it. That's why it's on my list. It's just not quite as high as it is on yours.
Going to May, actually April's kind of more summer now, but going to the official real month of summer. What?
You skipped an April one that's on your list.
Oh my God, I almost did, and I'm so mad at myself because this was also one of my top ones of 2020. This was the first movie that got canceled because of COVID.
I had tickets. I had my seats picked out.
I literally was. This one hurt me so bad because this movie was in my top 3 when it came out in 2018, I think, or 17 or 18. I love the first film of this, and I was so excited for the sequel, and it was 1 week away from getting released, and then COVID canceled everything, and that is Quiet Place Part 2. If it can... Look, I know this one's going to be probably it's not going to have the nuance and I think the brilliance of the first one, because the first one was all about trying to keep it quiet, keep it super intense. And at least the trailer so far makes it seem it's going to be a lot more noisy in a sense. But Krasinski is directing it again. He's sadly not in the film, obviously, unless it's in flashbacks. But I fully trust him in that he has an idea, he has a plan, that he's making the sequel because he intended to from the get-go. And Emily Blunt her performance in the first one was fantastic. The kids I thought were incredibly well done in it as well. I'm super excited to see this, and it better come out because I am still very sad that I didn't get to see this last year.
Yeah, this movie actually isn't on my most anticipated list of the year. Not that I don't think it'll be good. It's just because I'm going to this one with very just no expectations at all, because this is one of those things where it's a story that it didn't need a sequel, but if they're going to make one and it's got the original star in it, the original director, I have faith in them. So I think it will be good, but I did just to make my list because I'm really going in with no expectations of it.
Yeah, I'm just going off of I love the first one so much that I have to. This could also be one of those that ends up on my most disappointed because it doesn't.
It very well could. Any of these could, for that matter.
Yes, that's very true. Now going into May. Probably the first big summer blockbuster to come out. Once again, was supposed to be released in 2020. This was on my list last year. It's still on my list this year. I think it's actually stronger now after seeing the initial trailer for it, and that is Marvel's Black Widow. I obviously love Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanoff. The cast, I mean, Rachel Weisz. We both love Rachel Weisz. I love Florence Pugh. David Harbour. That four people right there, you have me sold. I think the trailer itself has great action. It's got great comedy in it without being too laugh out loud. I like the little quips that they have because they're a family. Everything about the trailer I really, really enjoyed, and I'm just excited to see it. And it's the first Marvel movie we're gonna get since was it Far From Home?
Yeah.
Yeah, Far From. I mean, we're gonna get plenty of Marvel before it with WandaVision and I think Falcon and Winter Soldier comes out before.
Falcon Winter Soldier is going to be after this. That
was March.
I think it got bumped because part of the whole reason it's in there is that it's now been revealed that Florence Pugh has a role in it, from what I understand.
We'll see, but we definitely get because WandaVision's out like in 2 weeks. But yeah, so I'm excited for Black Widow. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Black Widow's one of the ones. Black Widow's a movie that I never thought needed to be made. It's like the character, she had her arc. The character is in theory gone, but people are like, oh, we need to have a Black Widow movie, and I'm like, do we really? I don't know. And I honestly think that had this movie not already been in production when they decided to do Disney Plus shows, I think this would have ended up as a Disney Plus show for Black Widow. However, having seen the trailer, I'm actually very much intrigued by it, and having heard more about it, like when they did the whole Disney Plus presentation and stuff, I'm actually interested in this. It's crept up on my list. It's still like not quite in my top 10 most anticipated, but it's still on the list.
The next one, you're definitely more anticipated for this one than I am. The trailer, it actually kind of sold me less on it than before the trailer came out, and that is Fast 9. I can't buy John Cena being the brother to Vin Diesel. I just can't. Unless they're like so close that they're brothers because family. But if he's his actual brother, I can't buy John Cena as the brother. But it's Fast and Furious. It's mind-numbing explosions entertainment. What Michael Bay tries to do, but Fast and Furious just does it better. Like I said, we've been with this cast for 8 years now. If you're not on the train by now, then you're not going to be. Which I'm on the train. It's one of the things like, please let this end at 10, because please just let it end at 10.
Last I heard, they're doing a closing trilogy of 9, 10, 11, but who knows? I do want to see more Hobbs and Shaw.
No, I'm not saying Hobbs and Shaw is its own thing now. Let that be their own deal. But
as far as Fast 9, it's on my most anticipated list because I'm going to be honest. I love the Fast and Furious movies. I think they are they're the epitome of just fun action, and I like the characters, the interaction between this large cast of characters. I will be honest. When I saw the trailer for this one, it lessened my excitement for it.
Same way.
Partially because John Cena not doing it for me. Partially because they're getting more and more outlandish and unbelievable with the stunts. So that whole thing where he catches the rope and swings across, and like, but I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I think it'll still be fun. It's disappointing that I think one of the best things about the franchise the last few ones was The Rock is now kind of separate, doing his own thing.
Yeah.
But it again,
and Statham.
And Statham. But this is still on my list. And just briefly before we go into the next movie, a quick self-fact check. That giant Disney Plus presentation, everything confused in my mind. Florence Pugh is going to be in the Hawkeye series. not Falcon Winter Soldier. So that one, I think you're right, is probably coming out earlier.
Yeah, like I thought they during the Disney Plus thing they said that was coming out in March.
Yeah, she's in Hawkeye. That threw me. So
okay, now the next one, this was my number one in 2020, didn't come out. It is not my number one now. It's still high up on my list, but I'm more worried about it now than I was back before it got pushed back in 2020, and that is Ryan Reynolds' Free Guy. I love the trailer. I think the trailer looks fantastic. Ryan Reynolds, he's going to have a blast with this. I'm super excited for it, but I'm more worried now about it than I was a year ago. But it's still one of my most anticipated of the year.
Yeah, Free Guy, it's really dropped on my list. I love Ryan Reynolds. I think that when he's doing kind of his brand of comedy, especially with some action mixed in, I think he's excellent. I'm still very much excited to see this movie. It's just not nearly as high on my list as it used to be, and part of that's because the second trailer came out. And honestly, the first trailer was like this guy inside this video game who suddenly becomes aware he's in a video game, this whole thing. But in the second trailer, it seems like it's I've heard it compared to kind of a Wreck-It Ralph 2 scenario where it's like he's trying to save all the people in the game are worried about what's going to become of them and they have to try and get out, and I'm still excited about it, but I almost think it didn't go quite the direction I was thinking it was going. That's all.
Yeah, I'm hoping to give it the benefit of the doubt, and I'm sorry if this ends up not being as good as I hoped it is. It will probably be my number one most disappointed going into next year.
I know you were very excited about this.
This to me, this is like two movies in particular that you have on your most anticipated. That that if they're gonna hurt you if they're not good, and Free Guy's one of that for me.
Yeah.
The final one in May. This is also one of my biggest ones. It was one of my biggest ones in 2020. It's still one of my biggest ones in 2021. I hope I get to see this in theaters and not have to watch it on HBO Max. Not that I wouldn't love watching it on a 4K TV, but I would prefer to watch it in a big screen theater because this is a movie that is supposed to be seen on a big screen, and that is Godzilla versus Kong. I like the first Godzilla movie. I thought a lot of people were just like, "There's not enough Godzilla." That was the whole point. There's to sell the epicness of Godzilla. Godzilla vs. King of the Monsters. I think the monster side of the film is fantastic. The human side of the film was what brought that movie down. And if they can just try to not let the human story drag down Kong and Godzilla, then I think this movie could be what it's supposed to be, which is an epic summer blockbuster that is supposed to be seen on the big screen. Brian, your thoughts?
Godzilla vs. Kong has always been a hard one for me to judge because the new Godzilla movies, I have not been a huge fan. I've wanted to like them. The first one, while it had some good scenes, it was just too much about the humans, too little Godzilla, and there was just things about it I didn't like. Although I still, probably lean slightly positive on it, it was disappointing. Godzilla King of Monsters kind of followed suit, where they put in plenty of monster action, but then it's almost a story became secondary to it, and there's some weird ideas with the humans going on, and it's made me dislike it. But Kong, the current incarnation that you saw in Kong Skull Island, I really liked Kong Skull Island. It's got its flaws. It's not a perfect movie. There are some things about it I don't like, but I really enjoy that, and I'm looking forward to seeing the two of these collide, and hopefully it's good.
And that's the funny thing for me is I wasn't the biggest fan of Kong Skull Island. I liked the idea of it, but I thought that it failed in its execution with the human characters.
Well, that's just it. In both cases,
great, but like with Godzilla King of the Monsters, it failed. But that's the thing with Kong. I feel like Kong, the humans are more of a necessity than it is with Godzilla, and that's the part that failed me. So therefore, Kong Skull Island just didn't feel like a complete film for me. It just became like a Samuel L. Jackson movie, and Hiddleston and Bree just was like, what the fuck's the point of these characters?
Yeah, well, that's just it. Is in both the Godzilla and the Kong movies, we the human elements have been kind of the weaker part of it. And this movie, if they do what they should do, is just let the monster. Now, obviously, they're going to be humans in it, but I hope they keep the focus.
And most of the people from King of the Monsters is like Millie Bobby Brown, and they're coming back into it.
Yeah.
But they just need to learn to not that they're not bad characters, but they need to pull them back Just let Kong and Godzilla fight.
Right.
That's what we want to see. That's the main event. Don't disappoint me with this, guys, please. Going into June, this first one in June, I was so excited for, like over the moon excited for. And then I saw the trailer and I immediately went, uh-oh. But that doesn't mean I think it's going to suck. It's just, once again, kind of like what you said on, I think it was Quiet Place 2. You saw the trailer and it wasn't the movie you thought you were going to get. So it's alarming me a little bit. And that is Ghostbusters Afterlife. I love the Ghostbusters. I was super excited to hear that we were getting the original cast back. Paul Rudd being in it. And the trailer just didn't really do a whole lot for me. Now, it is a teaser. Could they come out with a second trailer that really will sell the movie for me? Sure. But as of right now, that was a movie that was so on the top of my charts. And now it's like down near the bottom. It's still anticipated, but it's near the bottom because that trailer just did not sell me on this film.
Yeah, this movie has the potential to be high on my list of disappointments. But again, part of it might not, only because my expectations have been lowered as we go. Obviously, a big fan of the original Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters that came out in 2015, whatever. We won't even discuss that one. But this one, yeah, you got the original cast, the surviving original cast will be back. You got some of the new people like Paul Rudd, directed by Jason Reitman, who not only being the son of the original director, but also just he's made great films on his own. It's got everything going for it. Saw that first trailer, and like you, I'm just like, oh, because it seems like it's all focused on the kids, and it's focused on I'm just worried that there is not going to be enough of what we wanted from like the original Ghostbusters, things like that. Now, again, it's just a teaser, but COVID has really worked against this, in that now you've had a year where all that's been out there is that teaser. It's like you need something to reassure us, like, okay, that was a teaser, but there is going to be more to it.
Here's hoping Super Bowl we get a new trailer.
Maybe.
And it does something to turn the tide. This might be one of those, like, yes, could it be a most disappointed, but we're both going in with such kind of low expectations that are either will win us over because
not even low so much as tempered. It's like I'm going in like not expecting that it might not be good, but expecting that, I'm not going in with super high expectations that it's not going to live up to. So
yeah. Going to the next one. This one's definitely on my list. I love the first film of this series. The second one, not as good as the first, but I still really enjoyed it. And this third one, probably the last one for the group, but I can see them doing more. And that is The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. I love the Conjuring franchise, not the Conjuring verse. I'm not a fan of The Nun. Annabelle Comes Home was good because it was Conjuring 2.5. But I love the Conjuring films, and you give me a third one. And this one also, it's given me and like I said, just based off the plot, from what they tell me, one of my favorite horror films ever is The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Because it's a horror film, but it's also a courtroom drama. And they were able to balance that out beautifully. And if you've never seen that film, check it out. It's a phenomenal film, I think. And this plot is about a court case about a guy who, I believe he killed somebody. It's a true story, but he killed somebody, and he said that the devil told him or made him do it. And they're being brought in to try and prove it or something like it, or debunk it. I can't remember which way it's going, but that's what this is about. So it looks like it could turn into almost like a horror film courtroom drama. And if it's anything like Exorcism of Emily Rose, I am 100% on board with this. And like I said, I love Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as these characters. So I'm actually really, really intrigued by this third film.
Conjuring and the whole Conjureverse.
Not for you. Moving on to the one that you want to talk about.
Okay. This is probably my number one most anticipated movie of the year, and that is the film version of In the Heights. Obviously was actually my number one on the 2020 most anticipated list. but like everything else got pushed back. This one getting pushed back to June. Um, Obviously, Lin-Manuel Miranda is basically first big musical production before he did Hamilton. Was this the I've listened to the soundtrack. I've seen just a stage production of it. So I love the story. I love the music. And the trailer I saw, I loved the trailer, just the style of it, how they worked in the whole music and the atmosphere of it. It's directed by John M. Chu, who just had a big hit with Crazy Rich Asians. But yeah, I mean, it's mostly on the success of Hamilton and how much you love the original music, but really everything I've seen about this, it really looks like it's going to live up to my expectations.
See, and the way what he said, I did it again. What he said about Conjuring, that's how I feel about In the Heights. I'll check it out. I have no expectations going into this. It's not on my list, but like I said, Brian's been talking about this movie for over a year now. So out of respect for my fellow movie crusader, I'm going to have to check it out. I just can't guarantee him that I'm going to enjoy it nearly as much. Hopefully it's not another Valley Girl situation for you.
No, I don't think so. Well, I don't think so. This is something where I know this music, I know the story, I've seen the production of it. It's just a matter of filming it.
The final movie in June, I hated the first film. I
don't know why it's on your list. It's not on mine.
And here's why. I verbally hated the first film with a passion, but the mid-credit scene of the final film, I know where you're going with it, but yes, they fucked up the mid-credit scene, but it's the potential of what it can be is what's got me excited. It's low on my anticipated, but it is something that if they do it right, I'm gonna lose my mind, and that is Venom 2. I hated the first Venom movie. I thought it was done all the wrong way. They should have just done Upgrade and just called it Venom, because Upgrade was a better Venom movie than Venom was. But mid-credit scene, and I know why you did they show Woody Harrelson, he's Carnage. Yes, the wig was fucking atrocious and was laughably bad. But anyone who knows the comic book series, Carnage is one of the most dangerous, scariest villains in the Marvel verse. And if they make this movie R-rated, Carnage is going to hopefully be fucking amazing. And having Woody Harrelson, the guy who did Clyde from Bonnie and Clyde, you bring that to Carnage, this movie, no matter how bad they make Venom, which hopefully the second time around they make him better, but you get Woody Harrelson as Carnage and you give him an R rating to just go fucking insane with this, it has to be good. I hope it's good. And that is why I'm on my anticipated list. I'm going in super cautiously, but if they do it right, Carnage can be amazing. And that's why it's there.
Yeah, my thing is I've never had an attachment to the characters or anything, Venom or Carnage, because that was kind of, I never really got into the Spider-Man side comics. I was very much, when I was in the comics.
I'm not into the comics. I watched the animated series.
I didn't watch that either. I was very much in the X-Men and all that kind of thing. I didn't get into kind of a lot of the other stuff. So I'd heard the names Venom and Carnage. I didn't know much about them besides what I saw on the covers of things. So I'm not invested in the characters. So I'm going strictly by what I know from the first movie, which did not impress me. Tom Hardy doing a weird voice. Michelle Williams, I'm never that much impressed with her. Like you said, the goofy wig on Woody Harrelson didn't tease me to this one. And I'm very curious to see it's directed by Andy Serkis, which the only thing we've seen of him, he's did like a small drama, but then he did Mowgli. So I think he did like a real budget and special effects in that. And that was not good. So
was it not good because it came out right after Jungle Book, though?
It had nothing to do with Jungle Book. I still haven't seen Jungle Book because I don't care to see Jungle Book. But I watched Mowgli, and it was not good.
I mean, let's put it this way: if you don't know who Carnage is a serial killer, like a horrible serial killer who gets the symbiote. You give a serial killer the power of Venom, like I said, if they don't go R-rated with this, then it's already.
I think they're going to be disappointed, especially because the first one was PG-13. I can't see them in the same series going to sequel going R, especially when they made the money they made. They will not make that much money if it's rated R.
It's like Logan. You can't do Carnage PG-13. He has to be an R. He's an R-rated, like Deadpool. He's R-rated. You cannot do Carnage in PG-13 and have it work. If they do PG-13 for Venom 2, it's going to fail. It's going to fail badly. If you go R, you have a chance to make this franchise good. A lot of people like Venom. No fucking idea why. But if you make this R-rated, this has the ability to be fucking great. Going to July, I'll go ahead and take this because I know this is nowhere near your. This is not even on your radar.
This movie insults my soul. Okay.
It's not that I'm excited to see it. I'm just intrigued to see what they do with it, and that's Space Jam 2. Space Jam 1, like as a kid, was good, but Michael Jordan's a horrible actor. But the best part about the movie is Bill Murray and Lola Bunny. Those are the best two parts of Space Jam 1. But LeBron James is taking the helm, and I'm just curious on what they're going to do with it. That's it. I'm not expecting it to be good. I'm not expecting it to be awful either. But I just kind of just want to see what kind of story they're going to tell with LeBron at the helm. Because I know you're not a big basketball fan. I know you don't like LeBron. But LeBron was great in Trainwreck. He was hilarious in Trainwreck. And I wasn't a big fan of Trainwreck, but he was one of my favorite parts of it. And to him to finally actually be like a lead in a movie, I'm not saying he's going to be good, but he's definitely going to be better than Jordan. But I'm intrigued to see where it goes. I'm not holding out high hopes, but I'm intrigued enough to be anticipated to see what's going to come of it. The next,
not on my list.
I know. The next movie, had I seen anything from this film, it probably would be on my list because we still have not seen jack shit from this film. That's why I left it off. And there's another movie just like this that is not on my list because we just haven't seen anything of it. So I'm going to let Brian take it because this is on his list. So go ahead.
For me, this one made my list just based on essentially the universe, and that's Marvel as Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I think is the full title of it. Yeah. Marvel, the MCU really has not done any wrong. I mean, even the movies a lot of people dislike in them, whether it be like the Iron Man 2 or Thor 2, I even enjoy all those things.
They're still fun. They're
quite a bit.
Yeah.
They aren't like, they aren't like the 5-star levels of some of the other films, but I still enjoy them quite a bit. So really, my complete faith in Kevin Feige, in Marvel, in Disney, whoever you want to give credit to, I anticipate this will be really good. I'm glad that they're kind of branching out into more lesser-known characters because while I enjoy seeing Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, these kind of things, this is one I had never even heard of. I've never heard this name before, but they said that's a movie for it, and so I'm curious to see something new. And
that's why it's not on my list because I don't know Shang-Chi. I don't know anything about it. I trust MCU. I trust Feige. Because I don't know anything and I haven't seen anything from it yet, I can't be excited for it either way. Besides the fact that it's an MCU movie. And I was trying to make my list. I was like, I'm just throwing this on there because it's an MCU
Really,
movie.
Any MCU movie is going to make my most anticipated list just on the fact that it's an MCU movie.
Exactly. The next one's yours. I don't know what this movie is. So.
The next one is a movie called The Tomorrow War, which was another one that was supposed to have come out in 2020. Now it's 2021. And it might be Tomorrow's War now. There's some conflicting information on what the current title of it is. It's a action sci-fi movie. Just the brief synopsis it says here is a man is drafted to fight in a future war where the fate of humanity relies on his ability to confront his past. I don't know. It involves time travel. It's sci-fi. It's war. Already, it sounds like the kind of thing I'd like. The add in the fact it stars Chris Pratt, Yvonne Strahovski, J.K. Simmons, Betty Gilpin. So it's got a great cast to it.
You had me till Betty Gilpin.
The hunt aside. The curious part to me is it's directed by Chris McKay, who is a guy who's done things like Robot Chicken. He's done the Lego Batman movie. So this is kind of his first live action film. And I'm curious to see with him, with Chris Pratt, with his other cast, and just a sci-fi action movie. I think it's the kind of blockbuster sci-fi fun movie that always appeals to me. So that's why I made my list. It's not like top 10, but it's definitely on my most anticipated list.
You sold me on it. Now that once you said Chris Pratt, J.K. Simmons with that premise, I'm already like, okay, all right. This would be on my most anticipated if I had known about it. The next one is also yours. I want to see this. I just didn't put it on my most anticipated, so I'll let you take it.
The next one on my list is another sequel, another one that took years to make. It's Top Gun Maverick. Another one, again, that's supposed to come out in 2020. Top Gun is one of those films that they've talked about a sequel for 30 years now. It's been 34 years since the original film came out. Holy cow, I'm old. But this is a movie that it's one of those movies. Do they need to make a sequel? No. Could they have made 10 cash-in sequels in the years since then? Absolutely, they could have. So I'm curious to see after all this time when they decide now's the time to make it, what it's going to be like. And I'm not sure what to expect from it because Tom Cruise obviously is going to take front and center. But of course, like most of these long-awaited sequels, they add in like, oh, here's the younger generation, and they're going to have Miles Teller in there, and I'm curious to see where they're going to take the movie. The trailer honestly didn't excite me. It didn't diminish my excitement either, though. It's just kind of like, oh, well, I'll wait and see more. So it's still on my most anticipated list, but not going in with unreasonable expectations.
I still think that they missed. I love Miles Teller, but I think Glenn Powell should have been casted for the role that he's in.
He should have, and they at least gave him a role in the movie.
He's in the movie, but I think Glenn Powell should have been playing the role that Miles has. But yeah, I mean, I was obviously alive when Top Gun came out. I was too young to really appreciate it. But it was never a big movie for me. Like, it was fine. But I know Tom Cruise from other things, not Top Gun. The trailer looks fine. It looks fine. I'm just like, it's a Tom Cruise movie, and if it's an action Tom Cruise movie, I'm always intrigued by it. The Top Gun thing doesn't really sell me on the whole deal, but like I said, I like Glenn Powell. I like Miles Teller. So the cast around him works. So I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, and this one being directed by Joseph Kosinski, who he did like Tron Legacy. He directed Tom Cruise in Oblivion, which is actually a
never
good
saw
movie. It's actually a good movie. It's a little more. It's not as blockbustery spectacle as a lot of his other movies, so it didn't get as much attention. But it was still competently directed. But I do think that's one of the things I'm going to miss about this movie. Is the first Top Gun was directed by Tony Scott, and it was very much a Tony Scott film, and that was also produced by Bruckheimer, which is very much a Bruckheimer film. And so, not having Tony Scott directed, who is the better Scott brother director, you can go ahead at me. I don't care. I think that might hurt the film because I really think he brought a lot to it, but I still looking forward to it.
The final movie in July, if this even comes out, I've seen stills. I still don't believe that this is being made, but just out of blatant curiosity of it now, it's on my most anticipated. It is one of my favorite video game series of all time, and that is Uncharted. Do I think the cast is incorrect? Yes.
Completely incorrect.
And it's not Tom Holland. It's not Tom Holland that I'm mad about. They're going younger, which in the third film we do see young Nathan Drake, so I'm not against it. They're going that route. Nathan Fillion is always the Nathan Drake that it should have been. He's too old for it now.
They waited too long. Yeah,
they waited way too long. This movie should have been made 10 years ago. I love Tom Holland. I think he's good. I don't think he's quite Nathan Drake. Because he still kind of plays kind of like the indecisive little kid role in a lot of the things, and Nathan Drake's more like, I don't want Chris Pratt to play it, but he's more Chris Pratt, like aloof, confident kind of guy. And when they initially cast Mark Wahlberg, I'm like, that is the worst fucking choice you could have ever picked for Nathan Drake. And now they're having him play Sully, which is also the worst pick you could have played, because honestly, the perfect Sully is Bruce Campbell. If you've ever seen the TV show Burn Notice, that is Sully, played by Bruce Campbell without the mustache. Don't have to make this any fucking harder than it has to be. You just cast Bruce Campbell and have him do Burn Notice. That is fucking Sully to a T. But, like I said, this is one of those that if it comes out, it will be shoot right up to the most disappointed if it sucks. If it's anything like Tomb Raider, which, how did Tomb Raider fail? Alicia Vikander and Walton Goggins. How did that movie fuck up? I don't know. Here we go again. We got Tom Holland, someone we really like, fantastic game series, and Mark Wahlberg, who, like I said, I like Mark Wahlberg. I like him, but I'm still pissed about Patriots Day with him. It's I have to see it because it's like I said, it's one of my favorite TV or game series of all time. I know this is not on your radar.
Not on my list. I don't have an attachment to the video game series.
Play Uncharted. I tried, and you just didn't want to play it. But yeah, I got to check it out if it even comes out. I'm honestly expecting this to get pushed back to 2022. Personally, I really do. So going into August.
The first movie that I have for August is.
I wasn't the biggest fan of the first one.
You were not?
It was fine. I think with the people that they had at it, I just expected more, and it didn't reach that level for me. Yeah. So the sequel, I'm just like, okay.
So the movie is The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. The Hitman's Bodyguard, I thought it was a ton of fun. It seemed like a throwback to the kind of movie that would come out of like the 90s. You know, it was kind of a buddy comedy, you know, kind of bickering, fighting with each other the whole kind of time. But it's got some good action sequences, and some of them are like some real over the top action sequences. And I just thought it was that kind of movie where it knew exactly what it was, which a lot of Ryan Reynolds movies are. They know what they are and they just embrace it. And I thought that one did it very well for that throwback kind of style to it. Now this one, the sequel, I don't know really much of anything about the plot. Apparently somebody's guarding Salma Hayek, who is, you know, the hitman's wife.
Yeah.
But they've also added Antonio Banderas is in the cast, Morgan Freeman's in the cast, Richard E. Grant's in the cast, Frank Grillo's in the cast. So I mean, they've expanded that to it, and so you know, that just upped my anticipation for this movie even more.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, I bet you if I watched it again, the first one, I probably would appreciate it more. But the first time watching it, I think I just, with Samuel L. Jackson and Ryan Reynolds, I put them both on too high of a pedestal, and I just don't think the movie grabbed it for me. I hope I'm wrong about the sequel. I hope the sequel turns it around for me overall. The next movie, Brian, if you had told me probably before last year that this movie would be like my number 2 most anticipated of 2021, I would have laughed in your face and then slapped you, because I hated the first film with a passion. But god damn it, you get a director that I love and respect, and you load a movie with so much people, like actors that I love, and you haven't even given me a trailer yet. You gave me a sizzle backstage reel, and now it is shot all the way the fuck up to like my number 2, Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
How did you take the shit show that we got from Suicide Squad 1, add James Gunn, and add this whole cast of new people, and now I can't fucking wait for this movie? First off, King Shark, sold. Nathan Fillion, Peter Capaldi, the list goes on and on of all the new people that are in this. I don't know what to expect from this movie, but I have to see this fucking movie. I'm so excited.
Part of me does know what to expect from it just because it's James Gunn. Because even Guardians of the Galaxy aside, James Gunn has always been perfect, my kind of humor and what he does. And so when you know, in his brief time off of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, when he basically took on this job and DC basically said, you know, you can have any project you want, he picked this. So obviously he knows he wants to do with it. They gave him free reign to do whatever he wants with it, so he can do whatever he wants. He can kill whoever he wants. I think a lot of this big long cast list are going to be essentially cameos or glorified cameos,
which I'm fine with that, as long as
nobody knows which ones. And it's going to be a great time finding out who. And like you, the first one, I mean, there's things about the Suicide Squad that I enjoyed, but overall it was not a success. So seeing the Suicide Squad, I am super looking forward to this, and I am every bit as surprised as you that I'm saying this right now.
Yeah, and that backstage sizzle reel that we got like in the summer, just talking about the movie and everything, I was just like, wow, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I can't wait to see Suicide Squad. Right. The last movie in August, this was on my anticipated last year. It was low. But now, for some reason, it's now gone up for me. And they haven't released a new trailer or anything. It's the same trailer that's been out. But I think it's more or less the longer it's now taken, the more I'm wanting to see this movie. And that is Candyman. we talked about this on the best of video. Say his name for me because I'm going to say it wrong.
Oh, I gotta bring up his
Yahya
Abdul Mateen.
The first thing I noticed from this trailer is, like, I'm going to say this right now. I've never seen any of the other Candymans. I will before I see this, but I've never seen them. First off, you add Jordan Peele's name to it, it immediately bumps up in a lot of people's eyes. He's not directing it, but he's producing it, which that didn't work for Antebellum in 2020 because Antebellum was not a good film. But the premise of the trailer that I saw, I think looks fantastic. I think the color scheme of this movie looks fantastic. Yahya looks great in this movie. The Candyman aspect of what this story is being told in that trailer, I think looks brilliant. And that's all I need. I don't need to see another trailer. Don't give me another trailer for this movie. Just keep showing this one and let's go into it, which we know we're not. We're going to see way too much and everything because Hollywood can't help themselves. But I loved the first trailer for this movie, and I am super excited to see this movie in August, if it still comes out in August.
It didn't make my list only because I rewatched Candyman. And I'd seen Candyman when it came out back in the 90s, and I don't remember having feelings either way about it. I rewatched it just this past year, and it's really not a good movie at all. So the story itself kind of now this trailer, it does look intriguing, so I'm definitely going to check it out. And like you said, Jordan Peele's name on it, Yahya Abdul Mateen, he's obviously having a great year or two lately. So I'm curious to see it. I'm looking forward to it. Just didn't quite make my list.
So going into September, we only have one movie written down. It's Brian's movie. Now, hold on.
Okay.
I love these guys. I do. This is the fourth installment of these guys. I love the first one. I love the second one. I was not a fan of the third one, and it's been way too long. And so I'm not confident that this movie's going to be good. But
I agree, which is why it's almost a different kind of anticipation for this movie. It's almost a morbid curiosity that I'm anticipating this movie. It is Jackass 4. I don't know what the title is going to be. They're just calling it Jackass 4 right now.
It's probably going to be Jackass 4, let's be honest.
It may be. But because the Jackass movies, the first one especially, I remember vividly seeing that in theater, and me and a couple friends laughing so hard we were crying.
I was too.
Now the show was always hit and miss for me, but the movie, when they kind of had no holds barred, I just laughing like crazy. The second one lived up to it. The third one, I will say, not as good as the first two, but the third one came out in 3D, and they had fun playing with that. And that's kind of movie that they used it for the gimmick that it is, and they had a lot of fun with that.
Honestly, I think the only thing I remember from the third one that made me laugh was the big five, which is great, which was great. But like I agree, they relied too on the 3D, and at that point I was kind of over 3D.
Yeah. At that point. Well, because my thing with 3D is that you're kind of over 3D. Except I love it when it's used as the gimmick that it is. The Final Destination movies are very good at that. The Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas was very good at that. Jackass, I thought, was very good with that because it's not just, yes, 3D can add depth and stuff like that, but a lot of people are over it. But when it's used for fun, I think it works. As far as this one, like I said, it's anticipating in a different way. And then how are they going to do this old? They're going to break every bone in their body if they try and do the same kind of stuff they used to do. So much
older now. It's just that I'm more worried.
And I'm hoping it's not going to be more of the skits. Like I was never a fan of like the old man that they made Bad Grandpa spinoff from it. I was never a fan of that kind of stuff. So I'm anticipating just because I want to see what it's going to be.
How about this? Before this comes out, you and I are going to come together. We're going to do a video, and we're going to do our top 10 things from the movies, our top 10 favorites. Because to this day, I'll spoil it right now. The one scene, I think it was part one. The air horn golf scene kills me. Air horn golf kills me. And I still to this day, I haven't watched it in forever. I still remember the very first skit from part one, which was the Destruction Derby. And it's great. I love the first one. The second one is just as good. The third one is where it fell apart. And it's not that I'm not excited to see these guys again. I'm just physically worried.
Yeah,
I'm
I really
worried.
am. That's
And
part of the reason it's on my list.
As part of me is like I'm worried to the point where it's just going to come off sad, and it's not going to be good. That's my worry. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it brings back the power of 1 and 2. I guess we'll find out. Going into October, was this first one on your list? I can't remember.
No, I've never been a huge fan of this franchise. The last one I actually thought was actually pretty good, but just overall the franchise has never done much for me personally, so this one didn't quite make my list.
I'm inclined to agree with you for the most part on that. I'm not a huge fan of the series. The first one is really good. The one, I don't even know what number it was. How about it's Halloween
Just
Kills.
tell what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's Halloween Kills. The first one I think is solid, but to put it up against Jason and Freddy, I don't think is fair. I actually liked Halloween H2O with Hartnett and LL Cool J. I actually really liked that one. Not last year's, but 2 years ago, it was good. It's not as good as everyone makes it out to be. There are some problems in that film that I do not agree with, that I do not like. There's some bad plot holes. There's certain story elements that got taken out, but there are deleted scenes showing it, that just leaving that scene in makes the story make more sense to me. So taking it out just really made no point. But it was a step in the right direction from what we had gotten from the Rob Zombie franchise of it and the previous film. So I'm intrigued to see where they're going to keep going, because we already know there's going to be a third one, because it's called Halloween Ends, which is supposed to come out in 2022. So we know this is just going to be the middle one, which it's not like it's going to be the fucking Two Towers. The second one in a trilogy is usually always the weakest one, because it's got to get from point A to point C. We'll see what happens with it. I think that it's in the right direction. They just need to be a little more cleaner with their approach, like they weren't with the first one. But I'm intrigued enough to see how it is. Jamie Lee Curtis was great in it. Judy Greer, great. I just hope they fix the problems that they had from the first film. The next movie is All You, Buddy.
Next movie, I don't even know if it has an official title. It's an Elvis biopic by director Baz Luhrmann. Now, Baz Luhrmann is basically the reason it's on my most anticipated list. I love Moulin Rouge. I actually love Romeo and Juliet. I know both those movies are very divisive, but I like the way they're done.
I think they're fine.
Now, since then, he's gone to he's kind of toned down his style. He's gone more mainstream in things like Australia, which wasn't very good. The Great Gatsby, which was fine. But so he kind of toned down on his style, which is like not what I wanted him to do. Now I'm afraid in this one he's going to do the same thing and do a more typical film. So this is kind of a make it or break it film for me for Baz Luhrmann, is if I'm really going to care that much about the movies he makes. But the one thing this really has going for it is Colonel Tom Parker, the guy who basically discovers and mentors Elvis, is Tom Hanks. So based on Baz Luhrmann and Tom Hanks, this movie has me super intrigued. I'm looking forward to seeing it, see what they put up.
Didn't they already cast Elvis?
They did. Elvis is Austin Butler, I believe is his name, who most people are not really familiar with, except Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He was Tex, the guy on the horse at the ranch.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So, I mean, I don't know what he's going to look like or sound like as Elvis, but that's the place most people would have seen him from.
I mean, younger Elvis, sure, but if they're going to go through the full story of Elvis, I don't know how.
Well, that's just it. I don't know how much of his life. I really don't know much about this movie at all. I don't know how much. I believe the focus is almost entirely, if not entirely, on the early years. So.
Gotcha. And I mean, with Tom Hanks behind it, it's not like I won't see this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's also got Dacre Montgomery, who's just in Broken Hearts Club. I forget who else is in this, but yeah, it's got a cast of a lot of kind of up and comers to it.
Broken Hearts Gallery.
What did I say? Broken Hearts Club?
Yeah.
Sorry.
But no, I like him. But yeah, it's I'm intrigued because I didn't know Tom Hanks was in it. But I mean, if he's anything like That Thing You Do, I'm for it. The next one, you're not excited for this. I am excited after I saw the trailer for it. I've never seen the original. So, like Mulan, I have no idea what I'm getting into. I heard the original is boring as shit.
The original is one of the worst movies I've ever sat through in my life.
Really? Okay. So it can only go up from here. but the cast is what sold me on it. I really liked the trailer, and that's Dune. Denis Villeneuve, he's entering Nolan, Quentin Tarantino levels with his fandom. He can't do no wrong. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
He's fine. I love Prisoners. I don't think Sicario's that great. Arrival, it's fine. And Blade Runner 2049, ambitious, but didn't quite hit the mark for me. This movie, I love the cast that they've got here, and the trailer was epic. Now, if he can keep that going from beginning to end, this has the potential to be a fantastic film. But Brian, you're not so you're not so confident in that.
Well, I have no connection. I've never read the book, so I'm not one of those people that wants the source material done right. The first movie was awful, which I know I shouldn't judge this on that, but it just makes me not interested in really seeing the story. And then your cast, I mean, your main person is Timothée Chalamet, who I don't understand the appeal of. He's been fine in the movies I've seen him in, but I don't want to see him as the lead in a movie like this. There's some of the supporting cast or some of the other cast members I like. There's
Oscar Isaac, Jason Momoa, Zendaya.
Yeah, there's those, and then there's Josh Brolin's in there.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of people in there I'm curious to see, and I'm sure I'm going to see it. Apparently not on HBO Max anymore. Who knows? But I'm just not excited for it.
The next one's yours.
Next one is.
I'll hold off what I think about this, but let's get you go.
Okay, so the next one I have is what's the official name is Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins, which I'm not sure they want to follow the X-Men title format that based on how that went over. Snake Eye. Okay, first of all, the G.I. Joe movies. The first G.I. Joe movie, not good at all. I thought there's so much they could have done with the G.I. Joe property. It was not good. The second movie, you brought in The Rock as Roadblock. You had Bruce Willis, who almost seemed to care for the first time in a while. He was decent at it. And Adrian Palicki's in it. And I enjoyed it, G.I. Joe Retaliation. Not a great movie, but I enjoyed it for what it was. This one I'm mostly curious about because, I mean, not only is it Snake Eyes kind of the most popular character, but he's being played by Henry Golding, who, again, is having a moment these days. A lot of big movies. You got, I don't know how to pronounce it, Iko Uwais or whatever, the guy who started like the Raid movies. He's got a major role in it. Samara Weaving is in it playing Scarlet. So, I mean, they got a good cast surrounding him as well. And I'll be honest, I know nothing about the movie. I don't know about the plot. I haven't seen a trailer, haven't seen a still. I believe they filmed it or are filming it, but I haven't seen anything about it. But it's anticipated, again, just out of sheer curiosity of what they can do with this, hopefully, and make it good.
And see, I guess I'm kind of more inclined to what you said. I dislike the hell out of the first G.I. Joe. It is not good. It is really, really bad.
Absolutely. They did all the wrong things with it.
The second one is a vast improvement. But I feel like this is too far gone from G.I. Joe to be. Now, if they're going to start from scratch and we're going to pretend those first two movies aren't a thing and this is a reboot, then I'm more open to it.
To the best of my knowledge, they are. Because, I mean, it's a obviously a completely different person playing Snake Eyes. Always been kind of inside the costume, so you don't know. But I'm not and obviously it's a prequel, so it doesn't have to have any connections to it. So
I mean, so basically it's Bumblebee G.I. Joe.
Essentially, so it could be a reboot. So nobody knows at this point.
Exactly. I'm because I'm not sold on the franchise as a whole. I mean, but then again, we weren't excited for Bumblebee, but then we saw the first 10 minutes of Bumblebee, and it was like, oh my god, this is fucking amazing.
This is everything Transformers should have been. Yes.
Exactly. G.I. Joe or Snake Eyes could totally do that. So we'll see. I'm just more hesitant because of the first two movies we got out of it. Going to November, this is my number one. And it's because of all the craziness that they've announced so far that it's anticipated because I have to, just like Suicide Squad, I have to see what they're going to do with this. And that is, there is no title yet, but it's Spider-Man 3. Yes, they just did the Spider-Verse really, really well Into the Spider-Verse. We all love it. But the idea that they're bringing in Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, Gwen Stacy's Emma Stone, Kirsten Dunst. Like, I have to see what they're doing with this. And yes, it's worrying. I know Brian's worried about it because of the whole Spider-Verse thing just happened, but I trust, like you said with Shang-Chi, I trust the MCU. I trust Kevin Feige. I trust John Watts that they have a rock solid story, that this will make sense and it will work. And I am really intrigued. If they don't do the meme where they're all pointing at each other, I'm going to be really bummed out. But I gotta see what they do with this. Like, I'm just so over the top intrigued with just the concept of what this could happen with this, that it is easily at the top of my most anticipated.
Yeah. Well, first, a disclaimer: this may actually be December 17th. We have 2 conflicting dates listed here, and I'm not going to take the time to figure it out. Everything's going to change again anyway. I'm
honestly inclined to think if this one's not December, then the next movie we're going to talk about is December, because there's no way both of these are coming out in November. It's not.
Right. I think this actually got bumped to December at this point, but who knows? And I also hadn't heard anything about Kirsten Dunst and Emma Stone coming back, so I'm curious if that's true. I don't know.
I know Kirsten Dunst is, and I think I heard Emma Stone, which I'm wondering how that's going to work, because dead.
Honestly, this is still on my most anticipated list because yes, MCU, and then yes, I've liked both the previous Spider-Man films. The multiverse thing, it feels like so much like a gimmick. I mean, if they did a multiverse, that'd be one thing. If they do like they did with Spider-Verse, for instance, doing a multiverse and bringing in other previous incarnations from the movies, especially when a lot of those movies weren't necessarily so good, I'm just like, that really worries me, and I'm hoping it's going to be essentially glorified cameos. I hope they are not major parts of this film, to be honest with you. But I'm still looking forward to the movie.
We don't know what's happening. That's why it's at the top, because just like I said with Suicide Squad, we don't know anything about it. We just know all these names. We know the director. With this, we know all these people are coming back, and I just have to see what they do with it. They have not said James Franco, though. But he did die at the end of the third one. But
so did Emma Stone.
That's what I'm saying. But Emma Stone died too. We'll see what happens, but I'm super intrigued by that. The next one, same thing as Shang-Chi. I just don't know enough about it outside of pictures, and the pictures don't really sell me on it. And Kumail Nanjiani?
Nanjiani.
Seeing him shirtless and super ripped is incredibly freaking weird, and that does not sell me on this movie at all, and that is the Eternals.
Sean didn't like the way it made him feel and questioned his man.
No, like, good for him. Good for him that he made himself look like that. Because I mean, he just looks so different than Silicon Valley, Kumail. And he just looked weird in Lovebirds because you could tell they were trying to hide it, but you could see his fit.
Right.
That it just looked weird. Good for him though. Like, I'm proud that he did that to himself, and he's happy with it. But I just don't know anything about this movie, so I can't really get excited about it because I don't know jack crap about this film.
It's honestly at my number. Last I checked, I think I had my number 2 or 3, the most anticipated. Part of it's MCU. Part of it's because it's taken us in a whole new section of the MCU, which they've done periodically. They did, kind of the Earth grounded thing, and then Thor came in, and then they decided they actually went to Doctor Strange, kind of went into the whole cosmic end of it. And Guardians of the Galaxy brought it into space. And now with Eternals, it's going this whole celestial level where it's like, I don't know what they're going to do with it, but I'm very curious. And it just like photos I've seen of just like the cast of it and the cast they've assembled, like Camille and let me see who else is in there, Angelina Jolie and Richard Madden and all these people. And I think it's got so much potential. Now, could this be disappointing? Absolutely, it could. But I think it has so much potential. I'm so curious to see where they go with it that I'm really looking forward to it. And I really, really hope, since Martin Starr has a character in the MCU, please let him have a scene with Kumail Nanjiani, just for Silicon Valley.
I never thought of that, and I'm like, damn it, they're not gonna do it. And now I'm sad because there's no chance in hell those two characters are ever gonna interact. And I don't think it's gonna fail. I think it's gonna be good. It's not gonna be Inhumans. No, there's no.
Oh no! Well, because Inhumans was basically made for TV, and it was not well done at all.
I don't think it's gonna fail. It's just I can't get excited about like Shang-Chi. I'm sure you showed me the first trailer for it.
I think the first trailer, people be like, "Oh my god!"
Oh,
Like
yeah,
the first time we saw a trailer
sure
for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I'm sure because the first time you saw it, they're like a talking tree, a talking raccoon. What the fuck is this movie? And then you saw the first trailer, like, oh my god, this is gonna be great, and it ended up being great. And that's the thing with Shang-Chi and Eternals. I'm sure as soon as I see a trailer, it will go right on my list. But without knowing much about it, it's hard to get excited for it when I just don't know what to expect. This next one, I know they're filming it right now because of recent headlines. I still just don't think this is coming out next year. I really don't.
Really?
I don't.
I absolutely believe it is.
I don't, because outside of the recent headlines, I have heard nothing about this movie, and that is Mission Impossible 7. But it's November. There's a lot of time between now and November. But outside of Tom Cruise's little tiff that he had recently, I had not heard anything about this. And with Tom, I mean, I'm sure Maverick's already done filming, so it's not like he's working on that. But I mean, I love the Mission Impossible franchise. Outside of the second one, which is just so overly cheesed up that it's bad, and I wasn't crazy about the first one, but from 3 on, I have loved this franchise. And Fallout was one of my favorite movies when it came out. So anything Mission Impossible, like how Brian is with Fast and the Furious, I'm that way with Mission Impossible. I trust it. I trust what it does. I trust everything that anyone behind it. And isn't it still McQuarrie?
Yeah, it's to be his third one now. In a franchise that used to switch directors every episode, now it's 3 in a row for him. And I think he's doing he's doing 8 as well.
Yeah, I trust him and Tom and Simon Pegg, Ving Rhames. I kind of wish Henry Cavill. I think they said Henry Cavill might be in this. I don't know how.
No.
I don't know how.
I don't think he is. I had such high hopes when I went and saw Fallout. So I'm like, I loved Henry Cavill's character, and when he turned to be a villain at the end, I'm like, no, I want him to be in future.
I mean, come on, we got the immortal gif. I mean, you can't. How could just one move be so fucking epic? It's ridiculous how epic that one move has been. So yeah, I'm obviously excited for anything Mission Impossible. Even when we saw it pop, I'm like, I even told you, I was like, this is not coming out next year. You're like, yeah, it is. And I'm like, my brain just doesn't compute it that it's coming out.
I absolutely believe it is, because Tom Cruise, if you ever see him in interviews, and like I remember watching something about the whole reason he, came back so quick filming after he broke his ankle in the last movie is because he's all about, we have release date, we're going to make a release date. And in this case, with the whole COVID thing, he's like, no, we need to be the ones to show that movies can still film if they do it properly, and they can survive, and they can make the release dates, and they can get released. And the fact that it's already well into filming, if not almost done at this point, I absolutely believe it's coming out this year.
That's the reason why I didn't think, because I have not seen anything about the movie, no set photos, no anything. Outside of his outburst about the COVID thing, I didn't know this movie was being made yet.
But it's been being made. I'm sure it's going to come out. I mean, virus things aside, the theaters being open, it's coming out. But I mean, like you said, I know a lot of it. I know the director, who obviously I trust. The returning cast is great. The new cast, Vanessa Kirby from Hobbs and Shaw is in there. Palm Clementov, who is Mantis from she's in it. Somebody else. Oh, Haley Atwell. Haley Atwell's in it too.
So, she's in it? Yeah. And then you get Rebecca Ferguson back.
Yep, and Rebecca Ferguson.
This is bumping up the list more and more. Oh, you add Haley Atwell. Anything outside of Kristen Robin, I love her in, because she was not good in that movie. But yeah, okay, all right. I'm happy now. All right, we're actually. Do you want to do the question mark ones before we go into December?
You might as well. Yeah, there's that we don't have dates for.
We have 3 movies that they don't have a release date, but we know they're coming out. So let's knock those out. This one, you've been talking to me about this one for a little bit now. I've
actually gotten to see this one, because this one actually got released overseas, and that's all we'll say about that. And that is Boss Level. If you're a fan of time loop movies like I am, the Groundhog Days, the Edge of Tomorrow, the Happy Death Day, now just do that with like an action film, and this stars Frank Grillo. It's got Mel Gibson in a role as kind of the villain of the thing. And Frank Grillo's dies every day, and he has to, he has to get to the end of the day and find out what's going on, and like all these time loop movies. But it's a whole lot of fun. It is a perfect movie, no, but it's got a lot of great action to it. This one is actually going to end up going to Hulu at an unspecified date in 2021. When you get a chance to see it, see Boss Level.
Yeah, you've been telling me that this would have been on your best of list if it had gotten released in 2020. So that right there immediately piques my interest in checking it out. I haven't. Is there even a trailer for this out yet? There has to be. There has to be. No. So you've seen the whole movie, and there hasn't even been a damn trailer out.
I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen anything.
You literally just said it. The next one I also haven't seen. I'm skipping to the third one. I also haven't seen. I don't even know what it is, so I'm gonna let you take it.
No Sudden Move is the name of it. This one, until I was making my list for this particular episode for this show, I had never heard of this movie. Apparently, it's going to. I lost my notes now. It's going to be made for one of the Amazon Prime, Netflix. Who knows? I'm sure you'll hear more about it.
Blah blah blah.
Anyway, it's a Steven Soderbergh crime film. Which right then you think the Ocean's movies, you think Logan Lucky, which are all just tons of fun. You got a cast that includes Don Cheadle, John Hamm, Benicio del Toro, Ray Liotta, David Harbour, Brendan Fraser, all these people. And Matt Damon looks like he has a role in it. So I don't know anything about it. It looks like it's Detroit in the 1950s, a trio of criminals. But just based on the director and the cast alone, I'm sold. So.
As soon as you started reading off the cast, I was like, "Oh wait, you did tell me about this movie." It's like I just didn't recognize the title. I was like, "I have no idea what this movie is."
Yeah, but again, it's one of those ones coming to streaming, and we don't know when, but sometime this year.
Yeah, and then the last one of the unknown dates, but we've known of this movie for a while. We know the three leads, and that's enough for us.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah, and it's Netflix, right?
Yes, Netflix.
Yeah, Red Notice. I'm going to let you take it away because you know more about it than I do. But
I really don't. It's Netflix, but all we really know about it is Dwayne Johnson, it's Ryan Reynolds, and it's Gal Gadot.
Which honestly, do we need any more information than that?
You really don't. But apparently, it's going to be like a big budget action thing. The only definition of it is here's an Interpol agent tracks the world's most wanted art thief. That's all we know about it.
I'm going to assume Gal Gadot's the art thief. It's either that or Reynolds. There's no way The Rock Johnson is an art thief. I'm not buying that, but that would be a great twist.
But so yeah, all we know about it is the three leads. It's Netflix movie. I know it's filmed because I remember, The Rock is always big on social media, and he has been talking about when he was on set.
I've seen pictures of all three of them together.
So it really is just a matter of when they decide to put it out, and Netflix usually gives you about maybe a month's notice. So
yeah. Those are the three that we don't know dates on. Now we're hitting December. The next one, once again, as soon as we were reading this up, I go, I don't know what this movie is.
Yeah, I'll just go real quickly. It's a movie called Babylon. At least that's the current title of it. It's a new movie by Damien Chazelle, known for La La Land, Whiplash. I was not as big a fan of First Man. This one, little is known about it. They believe it's going to be like kind of the golden early days of Hollywood. But the cast, which I just lost it here, this is another one of those movies where it's basically just based on the people involved. It makes my most anticipated list because it's directed by Damien Chazelle. Starring Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, and Tobey Maguire. So right there, I want to see it. So it's not high on my list just because I don't know anything more about it, but it's on there.
Gotcha. The next one I'll take because it's on my list. It's not on yours. And there's not a lot of people who didn't like this movie. I thought it was very pleasant. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it, and it's a sequel, and it looks like the entire original cast is coming back, and that's Sing 2. I thought Sing 2 was a very pleasant film. Taron Egerton, did I say his name wrong?
You said Sing 2 is a very pleasant film. You meant Sing 1. That's all.
No, Taron Egerton, right? Egerton?
I think so. Sure.
Eggsy from Kingsman. Or Elton John, Rocket Man. That's the first time I ever saw him sing or hear him sing in that. I loved him as the gorilla. Matthew McConaughey as a koala, I think, is just funny. I liked the cast. I thought it was humorous. I thought the elements of it was a very charming animated film. There was a lot of people who didn't like it. Brian's one of them. I don't get the hate for the movie.
I didn't dislike it. I did not dislike it. I don't love it. And honestly, it didn't help that my son watched it about 20 times in 6 days. So.
Oh, so you got cheesed all that.
Yeah.
You watched it so many times that you despise it. So the sequel's coming out. Like I said, they released a poster for it already. All the original cast members from the first film are on the poster, so I can only assume that that's legit. And there's new names on it that are intriguing. We know nothing about the story. I hope it's a good story. I would think that because all the OG cast members are coming back, that there's got to be at least a decent story out of it. That or they're getting a really big paycheck. I like I said, I really enjoyed the first one. I wasn't expecting to like it, and I thought it was a pleasant film. So it's on my most anticipated. It's very, very low, but it's still on the list. Going to the last two movies. One of them is one of Brian's top ones, so we'll talk about that one last. This one, I don't know how to feel about this. I want to be excited.
Why it's on my list. I don't know how to feel about it.
I want to be excited. Maybe after a trailer, I will be, but I don't know about it, and that's Matrix 4. I mean, we both love the first Matrix film. Everyone loves the first Matrix film. Matrix 2, I was fine with until they got to the dude in white. What's he called? The
architect? No,
the architect.
I think so. I don't care.
That whole scene to me just like killed the franchise for me. Like as soon as everything was fine, and they got to that room and decided to pull out of I can't say the word. Thesaurus. I said it wrong. I don't care. And said, let's say every hard word in the book so we lose everybody. And then the third movie, they basically made Neo Jesus. And yeah, and the franchise fell apart. Keanu's coming back. Neo has risen, I guess. But I'm intrigued enough to be anticipated to see what they do, but I'm treading very, very, very softly. And I think, Brian, you're the same way. We just don't know what to think about it.
I don't know what to think about it because, I love the first one. I did not like the second one. There are scenes in it that I like, but overall, I thought it was not a good movie. Matrix Revolutions, I actually thought was a step up from Reloaded, only because, but actually things I liked about it were the stuff that had nothing to do with Neo and Trinity. I liked the man on the ground, the war against the machines when they had like the people running out the ammo, the people reloading the ammo and shooting the guns. That's part of the story I enjoyed. But so we hear, Matrix 4, Keanu Reeves come back. But then we're like, well, wait, we didn't like the last two. So I don't know why we're excited about this, but we are. So I don't know how to feel about it. But I mean, like you said, if they're all coming back, it could be a paycheck, but it could be they liked what was going on. There's a lot of new faces in it who I almost fear that they're doing the whole passing the torch and they're going to continue with new characters. Although if they are, they could do a lot worse. They got a lot of names you've heard us talk about here a lot lately. Jessica Henwick's in it now. Neil Patrick Harris, Yahya Abdul-Mateen. We've heard his name a few times lately. So I'm curious to see what they do.
Yeah, it's just one of those. It's like it's the name. We're literally going off of the name and the original cast with some newcomers. Who knows how it's going to be? Like I said, we desperately need to see something from this to really gauge our overall thoughts. But going to the last anticipated film of 2021, Brian's number 2, 3?
It's 4. I think it's number 4. Last I checked.
Yeah, go ahead. It's your movie. I'm not going to take over for it.
You know what? I almost hate to end on this one because I don't know if it's going to be good or not, or live up to my expectations. But
the fact that Matrix in this, we really couldn't end on a high note.
Yeah, well, but the fact of the matter is, it's West Side Story. It's Steven Spielberg, so already you're getting a certain level of quality with a Steven Spielberg film. He's never done a musical. The closest you get is the opening segment of Anything Goes in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which was fine. This was. But so I don't know what he's going to do with it, what he's going to change, what he's going to want to keep the same, because you want to keep the same basic story, but you don't stray too far from it, but you don't want to just make a copycat. So I think it will at least be good. Will it be great? I don't know, but I'm definitely anticipating to see what he does with it.
I hope to God he takes liberties and changes things, because I do not like West Side Story. I had to watch that a couple months back, and outside of like This Is America, I did not like that movie at all.
Well, then you're probably not going to like this one then.
I know. I did. That's why it's not on my list. I mean, the cast, I think outside of like Ansel Elgort, I don't really think I recognized anyone else in the movie. I think it's a bunch of
Rita Moreno's in there. She played like the older sister or cousin. I don't know the relationship. In the original one, she's now like in place of the candy store owner from the first one. She plays that role in this one. But really, other than that, there are names I've heard of. But really no other stars. The female lead-in is actually somebody I think they basically discovered through auditioning, but also she does YouTube.
In a movie like this, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because if you start casting a lot of people that we know, you start to kind of go, well, that person can't sing, or that person can't be this person. So you hire relative unknowns, you're going in kind of blank slate. So I think it actually helps them out by doing that. I just was not a fan of the first film. And maybe it's just because I couldn't put myself in that time frame, because the whole time I was like, I could fuck up the Jets and the Sharks. Like,
well, I'm curious to see because in this one, I mean, obviously the music I imagine will be almost. I don't think they'll change the music much.
No.
The style of the film, though, where it's not going to be, I don't think it'll be as slow paced maybe as the original. It's not going to have an intermission. I doubt it will be as long as the original. But what will they do with it? Who knows?
As long as they make the Jets and the Sharks look more tough than they did in the OG film, because I'm sorry, they just looked like a bunch of pansies in that first film. I get it, it's dance numbers. That's not the reason. But they looked like a bunch of middle school kids just playing around, pushing, shoving. No, I'm sorry, you're not tough.
I will admit it was quite silly in the original, and I don't know how they'll do that in this one or not.
Just make them tougher. If you make them tougher, I will believe it a hell of a lot more, because that was the biggest part that I couldn't get over. The first one was like, these guys are a bunch of bitches. Why is everyone scared of these people? Yeah, it was just outside of like the leader of the was the Jets the Hispanic group, or was it the Sharks?
No, they were the Sharks.
The leader of the Sharks looked believable. Like, okay, like that guy can fight. The rest, no.
Oh, the white guy in brown face? Yeah, I bet they won't do that in this one.
On that note, that is the Movie Crusaders' most anticipated of 2021, hopefully. Like we said, I'm sure there's probably about 15 movies, maybe more, that are probably going to pop up randomly, like comedies. We had like no comedies on here because it's hard to be anticipated for a comedy when we don't know what the hell it is. Because Last Night at Soho is not going to be a comedy. I think the only comedy we maybe had on the list was like maybe Ghostbusters.
But Coming to America too.
And Coming to America too.
But again, we only know about the sequels because we don't know about new things.
Exactly. So there's so many movies that are going to probably potentially pop up. Like I said, 2021 with COVID, we have no idea what's actually being worked on. And like I said, the whole landscape currently, most stuff might go straight to streaming. The theaters still might not open up. A lot of them are closing down. We don't know what this year's coming up to. So we can only hope and anticipate what we're doing. If these movies come out, fantastic. If they don't, then a lot of these will be on next year's list for 2022. If Quiet Place Part 2 is on that list, I'm going to cry. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this list. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like, share, subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos, news from the Movie Crusaders. Leave your comments below. What are your most anticipated films of 2021? Do you agree with our list? Which, hell, we have like 40 plus movies. You have to agree, or at least with partial of those movies. But let us know what you guys are excited for. Coming up next for us, we're officially into the new year. There's not really any movies coming out yet. Like I said, we had nothing for January. So, but our new show, Weekend Crusaders, is going to be coming out basically next week, next Thursday or Friday is going to be our first episode. We're going to be coming out with a video that's going to kind of explain what the show is, so you guys kind of have an idea of what to look forward to when we do it. But be on the lookout for that. That is something that Brian and I have been super, super excited to do. We cannot wait to bring this show to you. We think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a fun premise. I mean, if you guys have liked us so far and how we've talked about movies and what we liked about movies, then you guys are going to love this show. If you don't like it, you're probably going to hate the show. So
we're not reinventing the wheel. We're talking about movies. You'll like it.
Exactly. We're talking about movies. But we'll definitely be coming out with a video that will explain that show to you. It's going to be called The Weekend Crusaders. And then if movies come out, obviously, you're definitely going to get a review from me. I don't know if Brian is going to be joining me on those reviews because Brian doesn't like to review movies. So you don't. I've tried to get you on here plenty of times. Yes, we have one video that has like over 4,000 views, and it's Terminator Dark Fate. We still don't know why you guys keep watching
One of my favorite things I ever did was the Dr. Sleep.
Yes, exactly. I was
spoiler.
like, if it was Dr. Sleep spoiler review video, like at 4,000, like, well, yeah, because it was like you, me, and Kirk. I was like, that was an awesome video. Or even me and Jay's Jojo Rabbit. That was a great video. I don't remember why Terminator Dark Fate was so good to us and why so many people were watching it, because Brian and I both can't remember that.
I think it's a YouTube glitch somewhere.
It is. That or we said something wrong in there that we neither of us remember.
And they're laughing at us.
Exactly. People are clicking on it just to mess with us. I'm sure that's why so many people have watched my Hamilton video, because I called the Schuyler sisters the Schuler sisters. So they're just making fun of me. And like, I'm bad with names, guys. This is not news, okay? Like, have you guys watched I'd say one of my other big videos is the Parasite video, where I gave up saying names halfway through because I was just ruining the whole thing.
You're offending entire countries.
I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to do this anymore because I know I'm pissing somebody off. So the father, the brother, that's what I basically did. It's got like over 600 watches. But yes, if you guys enjoy us, feel free to keep coming back for more. We got more reviews, more shows coming up, and Brian and I will occasionally pop on and we'll do an episode on certain topics that we like. That's not with the Weekend Crusaders. We'll probably call it Crusader Chat or something like that. I don't know what the hell we're gonna do, but it's whenever we just feel like it. We're gonna pop on. We're gonna do some videos. Maybe we'll do a live stream sometime, and you guys can chime in if anyone's out there actually watching this. We'll find out. But till next time, Happy New Year, guys. Hopefully 2021 is a fun movie year, and at least, like I said, 80% of these movies actually do come out. But until next time, I am Sean Wasserkrug. That is Brian Michaels. I did it right this time. I'm so happy. Till next time, in case we don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Crusaders, and have a Happy New Year.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.